Law number 16, the law of relationships. Success in talent acquisition will come from relationships, not from treating recruiting like a transaction. That is more like farming than hunting. This list of laws was written in a very specific order. We start with some of the foundational ideas that help us understand what employer branding is, its strategy, its focus, its perception. And then we move to the laws that help us see branding in the light of hiring and talent strategy, desire, quality, fit, clarity, that sort of thing. Then we establish the laws that define the means of success, subjectivity, localization, options. Now we reach what I think of as the outcome laws. These are the second order effect laws that are only true because the previous laws are true. And the first of these outcome laws is the laws of relationship. There's a myth in modern work that great work happens via technology. That email would allow us to communicate fluidly across continents at speed, but what it really led to was the development of complete bodies of information that are trapped in other people's archive folders. Slack was designed to turn the text revolution on its head and create easily searchable asynchronous conversations going back to the foundation of the company. But what it really did was turn our phones against us, creating low levels of PTSD in millions of people when they heard that specific chime that a new message had just arrived. To the point where years after being in a Slack organization, the chime played on a Slack commercial immediately made me remember how much I disliked a specific boss. Technology is great, but when you peel away the sales pitches and the obvious salivation for their own successful exits, it exists to create and support relationships. Tech may tell you that it is making information transfer more fluid and speedy, but really, it exists to make relationships work. Because at work, assuming you aren't working at a factory floor, relationships matter. Relationships are how complex and interesting work gets done. If a job can be codified into a series of clearly defined steps and processes, sorry, someone's already figured out how to automate it with software, or program a robot to do it, or ship all the work to a country with the lowest salaries. Everything else requires relationships. But employer branding is too often focused on tech and the tools, or events, which is really just a tool in a physical space. They end up wanting to talk about how many people they reach instead of whether they were worth reaching at all. They want to show off their creative instead of asking who's using it. The law of relationships is here to remind us that the output, the tactics, and the creative are all well and good, but the best employer branding happens because you built a relationship. Because without relationships with recruiters, they're not going to listen to your advice or take advantage of your resources, and you won't get the frontline feedback you need. Without relationships with staff, your advocacy plan won't get out of the gate, and your branding will need to rely on costly marketing channels. And you won't hear about interesting work being done in the company. Without relationships with hiring managers, they're going to see your work as more boxes to tick as they hire instead of extra resources they can use to hire better. And you won't have a network of people who will talk about how valuable your work is or inroads to staff whose stories you need to tell. Without relationships with leadership, you won't have anyone who can support you as you make strange requests that further the brand. Like when all of HR and legal freak out their geek because you're suggesting that they give rejected candidates actual useful interview feedback, you need a leader in your corner who can at least explain the value when you're not in the room, because you're almost never in the room when the real conversation happens. Relationships are the fuel, not only of your work, but of your career. And there are 3 ways an employer brander makes an impact. First, by building great tactics. Branders start with a skill. Maybe they write well, maybe they ace the social media managers, maybe they make videos or craft job postings, whatever it is. The goal is to get good at one's craft, maybe even add a few on. But mastering a craft only gets you to the how to write the perfect tweet stage. It never asks the question, why are we tweeting? Second is managing strategy. How you answer the question, why are we tweeting? That's strategy, along with, would this be better as a video or an internal comms channel? Strategy is how we maximize resources we already have to make the biggest impact. It doesn't really think so much about how to aggregate more resources. Third is political. This is where you ask, how can I get other teams to give me more resources so we can level up our work? Politics gets a bad rap. The strategic mind assumes that good results will lead to more budget. It's the political mind that thinks, I bet there are resources out there I can go get. It's just a matter of finding who would pay for what I can deliver. In your employer brand career, as you progress up the ladder, you will use less tactical skill in favor of strategic skill, followed by seeing how you can make an impact by playing the political game. As you move up, relationships matter more and more. In fact, relationships are how you move from one rung of the ladder to the next.